my new video series called Just Like a Jigsaw. We recently launched a new block of the month called Just Like a Jigsaw for people who was getting started in English paper piecing, or even people who were more experienced at it. And I'm going to run through a few things for you today about how you can use those pieces and little sections that you make each month. First of all, the jigsaw package will come in a folder just like this one, and inside it you'll have a Playing with Paper book basics, a Playing with Paper book curved shapes, and every month you will receive a page with a different design on it using different paper pieces and your acrylic templates. In the package you're also going to receive one of these SueDaley selection bottom line thread packets, a packet of needles, and also the appropriate papers and templates for the design that you're going to get each month. So what I'm going to do is go through and show you how I use these shapes and maybe inspire you to use them. And the reason we've called it Just Like a Jigsaw is because it is just like a jigsaw. If it goes together, it will sew together, and you'd be amazed how many different shapes that you can put together, how many different combinations you can use. So just by using two different shapes today, the 2-inch elongated hexagon and the 2-inch square, I'm going to show you different things of different ways of putting them together. So first of all, this was the original design that I did using those two particular shapes. So we have both those shapes, and they sit in here and the square sits in here, and I actually have fussy cut those pieces. So for fussy cutting you can refer back to one of my other videos that I've done just specifically on fussy cutting. So all it is those two particular shapes, and we've put them together, but looking at it, for you looking at it from a distance, you probably don't realise what shapes I've actually used because of the fussy cutting. So I've cut out a couple of the shapes, so I've used my template and my fabric, and I've cut it out using my rotating mat and my rotary cutter, and I have a square here. And I'm just going to quickly show you, just recap on how I actually do the gluing method. I'm going to take our paper shape, place it onto our fabric, and with our glue pen we're going to run the glue down along one edge, keeping the glue in from the edge just a little bit. And that will make it easier for you when you sew it together. The reason we don't glue right on the edge or onto the fabric is because it's very difficult when you're sewing it together to get the needle through the fabric. So just move around one edge at a time. Don't try and glue it all the way around in one go, because otherwise your glue will dry out too quickly. Just go all the way around the edge. Now these shapes have a little point, they have a 90-degree angle point on them, and unlike the diamond shape, it doesn't stick out a lot, this little tail. It will stick out just a little bit, but it doesn't matter, because when you're sewing them together you're just going to fold them out of the way and then stitch right up to the point. Never sew these little tails into anything, and don't cut them off. And I'll just glue the square. Just pop your paper on the top. Again, run the glue pen down one side. Always find that the board's useful for gluing as well as cutting, because you can just turn it as you go. You're not trying to move the paper and the fabric together. Sorry, I'll just get that rid of, it's a bit wobbly. You're going to pull it in nice and tight. Remember, always put your lid back on the glue pen. And again, your corners, another 90-degree angle corner there. Sometimes your little tails will stick out just a small bit. Sometimes they don't stick out at all, but don't be concerned about them. They'll just look after themselves in behind your work when you've sewn them together. Now when we put these together, I've already prepared the other three. So for this one, we can put those in here, the square goes in the middle, and we end up with this, which is exactly the same as this here. Square in the middle, and the 4 elongated hexagons around the outside, but it looks very different to this one that I've done here. So can you see that there? Just hold it up a little so it doesn't fall down. Now the question that we get asked the most is, what order of operation do we sew these in? Now with English piecing it doesn't really matter, it's just whatever you're comfortable with. Now for me, I would start with my square, and then I'd take my elongated hexagon and I would put the right sides together, but I would leave my square on the bottom, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch along there, I'm going to travel my thread up behind and then sew my next one in, and I'm going to sew them all in a circle. However, if you want to do it a different way, if you want to sew these all around together in these little sections here, sew that together and then the 4th one on, and then leave one side open, then sew it around the outside of your square, that's fine too. But I just find that it's easier to do it all in one go, and that way you're not cutting your thread, you're not having to do your knicker knots all the time. So I'm just going to quickly show you. Now, for a better, a better tutorial on this, you can go back to one of my previous videos and learn to do the knicker knot and how I sew these together. But I just wanted to quickly show you that I'm going to stitch along here and just keeping my stitches about 1/16 of an inch apart, pulling your thread nice and firm. And I'm going to stitch all the way along there. When I get to that edge there, my needle's going to be here, I'm going to travel my needle up in behind my work there and come out at that point right there. Okay, and then I'm going to put this one in here, so I fold it over like that, and I'm going to do 2 stitches at the top, come down, do 2 stitches, and then fold this out, and this one will bend over at the top like that, and you'll sew along and keep going in that direction around. Okay, so it's pretty simple, but there's no real rules about how or what order to put your to sew your papers in. Okay, so moving on from that, what I want to show you is just a couple of ideas that you can do for all of those people who have signed up for this club, and there is a lot of you. I just want to give you some ideas as to what you're going to use all these little monthly pieces of work, what you can actually apply them to. So you can just simply piece it up like this and piece it into a whole quilt. Just make a whole quilt like that if you want to, whatever size you want. You can piece it this size and apply it onto a background and make a cushion out of it. You can use it as the centre of a quilt. You can simply use just the elongated hexagons and sew them together. They will all just go together. They will all just fit together nicely if you're sewing them, and then they lock into each other just like that. So that's what I've done here. This particular one, I sewed them down in rows, and then I sewed them the zigzag bit down and joined them all together that way. Now I went back in through some of my UFOs and things that I started many years ago, and they just got put to one side. These are actually so old. These are when I used to tack my fabric to my paper, so these actually still have some of the tacking in them, and it's very soft now. But what I wanted to also show you was I've used that same shape, the 2-inch elongated hexagon with the 2-inch square, but this time I've added a 1-inch square in here. Now down the track in the Jigsaw pack, you will get 1-inch squares. So when you have all your 12 months of your block of the month or your Jigsaw club, when you get it all, you're going to be amazed at what designs you're going to come up with by interacting different shapes from different months. So we've just added a 1-inch square to this, so you can see what happened with that. This one here, I'm going to leave that to last because I've got something to show you with that. If you have a project at home or a pattern at home that you really love, but you actually don't like the outside of it, this particular piece never made it into a pattern. It will come into a pattern, but not in this design. But if you have something and you don't like the outside of it, but you love what's going on the inside, this is a great little bag to carry English piecing around. It's got clear pockets in the top, it's got pleated pocket at the bottom, and it's got a little thing to hang your threads on. You can simply piece the back of that and then follow the instructions in your pattern to complete that project. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So if you wanted to use this particular pattern, you would just make this big enough for that, for the outside of this project. So, you know, there's lots and lots of things you can do with all these little pieces that you're going to be getting over the next 12 months. In my book, which some of you have already seen how I design things, I've just flagged a couple of pages to show you a couple of other things that I've done. Now if you look at this bottom one here, I've just used my 2-inch elongated hexagons, nothing in the middle, joined them, and you can use those on a border. Or you can put maybe little stitcheries inside there, or whatever you want to do. I mean, it's just ideas of what you can do with these shapes. The next page is here, another border design or a little motif design is just sewing two together like that with a 1-inch square here, and you can make a row of those and put them around the outside of a quilt. And the last one I have here is, again, this is working with your 2-inch elongated hexagons, but we've put the 1-inch squares in here, and again you can make this as a feature on a quilt. You can applique these onto blocks, you can put a little applique in there or a stitchery, whatever you want, but it's almost a border type effect that we have there. Okay, so there's lots and lots of things you can do with these. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is this one. This is another one that I've dragged out from the depths, another UFO that was going nowhere, and again it's really old because it has been tacked with thread, so it's probably going back to about 2005, I guess. Same deal as this one, however, looking a little differently. This one here was made with complete sections and then sewn together and joined with squares. This one here is sewn, but instead of making complete sections, we just butt the next one on. So we've not got separate sections. We have this one here, but then we've just got the three going around the top here. So that's another thing you can do with it. It's a different variation of it. Now, what I'm going to do with that is I found some old chairs recently. I'm just going to get this up here so you can see it. Okay, so I've got these old chair that I've got, well, I haven't gotten it recently. I got it recently out of my garage, and we've cleaned it up and we've pulled it all apart. It had about 4 different layers of coverings on it that various people over the years have obviously recovered and just plonked it on the top. We've stripped it all the way back. So this is our base. We've been to our local foam shop and he's cut me up a piece of foam to fit. And then what I'm going to do is, I'll just pop him down here, I'm going to cover this. So the next time, maybe not the next time, but on a video in the near future on our jigsaw videos, I'm going to have covered this for you, and I'll go through step by step how I've done that. So I'm actually going to put some wadding on the top here to round it out a little bit, and then I'm going to cover my seat. So I'm going to have an English paper pieced seat on my old chair, which is going to make it look like a new chair, which is really neat. So that's a lot of different things that you can do. That's just month 1. Month 2, you're going to be getting another couple of shapes to work with, and I'm going to come back and show you how to work with those and give you some ideas of what you can do. So I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who already have it, I hope that's going to help you along the way. For those of you who don't have it, then you can go to our website, busyfingerspatchwork.com, and you can find it there, or go to your local patchwork shop and I'm sure they can help you out with it as well. So I hope you enjoyed today, and I'll be back really soon to show you the next month, and